Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Seiben for the Aether Hub, here live-ish from Aether Hub HQ. That's right, filming from our own actual store, which you yourself can visit or even buy things at by going to www.aetherhubtcg.com. Now that I'm done bugging you guys with ad plugs, let's get down to business. I have some good news. Lore is actually making a comeback here on the channel. We're pretty far behind in our Amonkhet storyline, so I'm gonna have to book it to make up lost ground. So let's not waste any more time and get right back into it with Chapter 4, Servants. By now, we all know that the people of Amonkhet are waited on by scores of mummies referred to as the Anointed. They do all the menial tasks the living just don't feel like doing. I should probably get one for the shop, but while I'd spend most of my free time lazily eating ice cream, the people of Amonkhet use it to train day in and day out for the trials of the 5 gods. Their only objective? To be found worthy by the God Pharaoh, aka Big Mean Dragon Nicol Bolas, when he returns. While they're certainly a nice tool to have, the Anointed are shrouded in mystery. The magic that keeps them subservient is powerful, strong enough to curb their desires to chew on living flesh like all the others the Gatewatch ran into out in the wastes. So of course it's up to the Gatewatch to find out what's going on here, and they turn to their resident necromancer, an expert on the subject of bending the dead to her will, Liliana Vess. But understanding the world of Amonkhet to better take down Nicol Bolas isn't her first priority on this little field trip. Something more selfish drew her here. The demon? Razzaketh. Razzaketh is one of Liliana's demon lords, the beings she, with Nicol Bolas' help, traded her soul to in exchange for long-lasting life, beauty, and those awesome purple tats. Problem is, power and beauty really don't count for much when you're basically just a chained pet for the demons. So Liliana grabbed the chain veil and killed 2 of her former lords. Using that same power, she now looks to take down Razzaketh, who conveniently resides on Amonkhet. Not being the greatest super friend, I mean Gatewatch member, Liliana failed to tell her comrades of the demon's presence on the plane, hoping to use their naive sense of friendship to trick them into helping her kill Razzaketh. That's the whole reason she joined the Gatewatch to begin with, to use allies to help with her own goals. Now, the last 2 demons she vanquished were relatively easy kills. Kothafed, who sent her to find the Chain Veil, and Grizzlebrand, who was trapped in a silver prison on Innistrad. Yet, here on Amonkhet, she has no clue of Razzaketh's whereabouts, or if he knows she's already there. Not to mention, he's supposedly much stronger than either Kothafed or Old Grizzle, coming from a world run by Nicol Bolas and all that. So now, more than ever, she needs friends in her corner. Of course, work doesn't always have to be so worky. Liliana takes some personal time to enjoy the Anointed and their services. She conjures forth a wispy shade and sends it out into the city to find any trace of her demon lord, kicks back, puts her feet up, and enjoys the oasis. Yet, besides the demons, Lily's tormented by another otherworldly being, the Raven Man, who disrupts her yet again. The Phantom scorns her for being lazy, and he's right, this isn't a vacation. She needs to find Razzaketh and kill him. Use her friends, who he suspects she's falling for, especially Jace, for like the 100th time. The Raven Man tells her that he's the one saving her life, protecting her mind from Emrakul and Innistrad, using the Chain Veil to burst her out of that sandworm's gut, the one that swallowed her when she first arrived on Amonkhet. Things she wasn't even aware of him doing. Perhaps he had more control over her than she thought. Nevertheless, she was on the hunt, regardless of appearances. After he departs, Liliana meets up with Jace and have a really engaging conversation about the appropriate time of lunch and brunch, a debate as old as time itself if you ask me. Before a riveting conclusion could be found, they're interrupted by her shade, who says it's found something. So Jace and Lily go on another adventure together, which this time includes a game of 20 questions. No, seriously, Jace doesn't know where this shade's taking them, or what it's found, so Liliana gives him a chance to guess at it. It's not looking for Bolas, and she isn't looking to betray them to Bolas. Jace hits something when he suggests she's looking for something she left behind here on Amonkhet during her first visit, but it's a bit too vague. The 2 planeswalkers follow the shade down a dark path through an aging building, with walls covered in relic images. The perfect place to find zombies, only these were just more anointed, walking past them seemingly oblivious or unconcerned with their presence in this obviously restricted area. The shade led them to a large open area where dozens of Anointed were quietly working their duties, in the process of making new Anointed. They had stumbled upon the process which gives these mummies undeath. Loads of knowledge were at their very fingertips, as creepy as that knowledge proved to be. The dead lay on slabs, being cut, cleaned, and wrapped by the Anointed. These were warriors, students who had trained and failed at the trial of the gods. Some stirred and thrashed, even after death, forcing the Anointed to hold them down into position as large cartouches, the ones all the Anointed seemed to wear, were inserted into their chests. There were no other necromancers around save for Liliana. All this was going on by the will of the plane itself, it seemed. The magic was strong. As they investigated further, the two came across a large painting on the furthest wall of the room. It was a depiction of how the people here saw the afterlife, and at the center of it all, Liliana's demon lord, Razzaketh. His figure blocked the open gates to the afterlife, the final test, the last calling of the unworthy who remained. Razzaketh barred the way to paradise. Liliana's obvious discomfort at the imagery tipped Jace off to her real purpose on Amonkhet. She was after one of her demon lords. Clever, but he is a telepath after all. Reading body language, I'm sure, is much like reading minds. Of course, they get into a little argument about the whole mix-up, and Jace claims she's lost their trust. But come on, who ever trusted Liliana in the first place, really? As they argued, a ring pierced Liliana's concentration. The picture of Razzaketh opened its eyes and stared right at her. She heard her name whispered in a dark tone. The mummies, who had previously ignored their presence, were now all looking right at them. In unison, they spoke her name, Liliana. Jace first thought this was Lily's doing, but that theory fell through as they lunged at the two planeswalkers. Her necromancy was useless against these dead. The cartouches bound them to another's will. The world passively seemed to raise the dead, but the cartouches controlled them. They tag-teamed one of the zombies, wrenching the cartouche from its very chest, hoping to earn a servant to help defend them. Yet, as the cartouche fizzled to the ground, the zombie collapsed, unwrapped and very much unreanimated. This would probably be the end for our favorite Mind Mage and Death Mage if it wasn't for an unexpected savior, Temmet, who I've yet to find a use for in any of my decks. The young Vizier seems to be the head embalmer on Amonkhet, being the chief controller of the Anointed, but clearly he had some serious questions for these outsiders. Of course, Jace could control the mind of the youngster, but as seems to be the ongoing standard here, Temmet had some sort of protection, which was going to take Jace a few minutes to break through. Liliana goes on the offensive with a distraction technique that's sure to work, insulting his very god, Nicol Bolas. She simply tells Temmet the truth. These outsiders have met their god, and he's a complete, well, insert expletive here. Temmet knew there was something off with this group when he first met them. He checked the record of Kefnet, and their births were never recognized on Amonkhet. Now, with their blasphemous attitude, he understands exactly what needs to be done with them. Yet, as a mummy grabs Lily by the throat, Temmet's eyes glow blue and the Anointed stop. Jace had finally pierced the boy's mental defenses, controlling Temmet, who in turn controlled the Anointed. It was taxing, and Jace could barely hold on, so they both needed to escape immediately. Now free from that hellish reality, and Liliana's demon for the time being, the two must decide on their next move. Jace was unable to wipe Temmet's mind, so he'll come to, and their cover's gonna be completely gone. Liliana knows now that Razzaketh has something to do with Amonkhet's afterlife, and that he knows she's here. He needs to be dealt with now along with their original target, Nicol Bolas. Again, Liliana realizes she needs her friends or fools now more than ever. This story was one of my favorites because of how well it played off the abilities for the actual card of Temmet. He's the lead vizier of the city, not to mention the controller of the Anointed, so it gives his card a lot of extra flavor. Temmet having the embalm ability himself also gave rise to the fan theory that he actually died in his encounter with Jace and Liliana. The idea is that while being knocked out, the Anointed went about doing their normal embalming stuff, including embalming Temmet himself. It's an interesting idea for sure, but just because he has embalm on his card doesn't necessarily mean he was embalmed in the story. But it could be some potential added flavor. Anyway guys, that was chapter 4 of Amonkhet's storyline, Servants. Please let us know what you thought about this story and the new video set up in the comment section below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time here at Aether Hub HQ.